All right. Good morning. So today we are going to be going over the Google Scholar publishing profile, and it will be an opportunity to set up that profile if you've not activated it previously, or to just check your settings for things like display name. So a couple of notes. Um, Google Scholar Library Links currently only covers journal articles, but Alma still takes the holdings file and includes ebooks if Google Scholar does end up changing like how their service works, so that you're not having to reset that up should that become one of their options. So just a little something interesting to know. The other thing that's good to know is if you do not have an active Google Scholar profile as an institution, Alma will do that registration for you when you activate the publishing profile. Um, However, I did notice when I went in to kind of just add some colleges to my own personal Google Scholar profile, which I can show you how to do so that you can kind of monitor your own instance. Like Big Bend had 3 different profiles on there. So I'll probably suggest to them that they reach out to Alma support, because I didn't even see all of those profiles in their publishing profile. So they've got some like old stuff. So apologies to Kirsty and Melinda. Multi-campus setup is slightly different than the instructions we will go over today. But there is a whole section on adding a profile for multi-campus. Okay. The uh the place that we're going to go to, it's not even in configuration. It is in resources, publishing, publishing profiles. I happen to be in Grays Harbor right now just because I'm doing some libkey setup for ya. So we go to resources, publishing profiles, and then it should be one of the out of the box publishing profiles that is already included. If for some reason it has been removed, you should be able to go to that community tab and then search for Google Scholar and hit copy to add it into your institution. And then we can go into edit, and so you can see right here, publishing parameters. You want to set that to active and also schedule it. If it is not scheduled, it's not going to run, even though it exists. So you can set it for every Friday or every Saturday. It doesn't really matter. Oh, look, your publishing platform job for libkey just finished. So registration parameters, and I will leave this to Grace Harbor to actually fill out, but this is what it looks like. And then here, and I just copied this straight from Alma, is how you want to fill each of these out. So display name is one where I would highly recommend sticking with like the common way that your institution is referred to. You want it simple, approachable, recognizable, very user-friendly. You can also add up to 5 keywords. So for example, Bellingham Technical has BTC, they have Votech, they have some of the other names that users might search for when they're in Google Scholar trying to find their library. And that's what those keywords are for. The label for the resolver links, when you have the article in your collection, is the little tag that's the text tag that will show up next to the article results in Google Scholar. It's very common for it to be view it at, and then your kind of abbreviation for your college. You don't have to use that. You can say, you know, connect to, article through your college. You want to keep it short, which is, I think, why the view it at. It's also consistent with the electronic collection link section in the brief results page is view it. So your choice if you want to play with what that label actually looks like, but view it at, GHC at BTC would be common and recognizable. The label of resolver links when you don't have that article, and this is one where if you don't put in anything, nothing will show up. If you do put in something, you want to make sure that you actually do ILL or some kind of resource sharing, because otherwise it will take the user back to the catalog, and it will do that search for the article. It may come up with no results. They might, spaces in them, Abby says, is allowed. So you don't have to run it all together. Which is also nice for accessibility because then it reads the words the way they actually sound. Still want to keep it short. But if you don't do any resource sharing, you probably don't want to include a get it link if the article is not in your collection. So it'll just end up being an issue. Your open URL base is one that can seem a little daunting because it talks about do this construction and use your Primo domain and blah, 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 blah. I'm actually putting together everybody's base URLs for libkey, and I just made an Excel spreadsheet that constructs it concatenates the base URL based on some cells and the info I put in of Primo domain, institution code, and view code. So you can do it. It's not hard. But if you're like, this just broke my brain, let me know and I can send it to you. No problem. And then your patron IP range. This is optional. So you don't need to include any IP ranges if you don't want to. If you do know your campus IP ranges, if you enter them here, it will then relate to this last question of show the resolver links only to users in your IP range. So if you don't want someone off campus getting any of these links, which I don't know why you'd necessarily want that, like remote learning totally being a thing, you'd want to set show resolver links only to users to know, and then patron IP range becomes not particularly relevant. Google Scholar does not construct the easy proxy prefix to send your users directly to the article like libkey will do. When your institution gets libkey and it's activated, you're going to come in here to this open URL base and you will actually update this to be the libkey open URL for your institution with your institution ID, and I believe API key, but we'll get more information. And then the cool labels will send the user directly to the article, because then the proxy will be constructed for them. So yeah, you don't have to worry about the IP ranges here. And you probably don't want to show the links only to users within your IP range. Finally, if there's a technical issue, you probably want to put contact information in here that you know is going to be consistent. So either yours or like a general tech services or support for your library. I wouldn't recommend like a generic circ email, just because if it's a technical issue, that could very easily get lost in a circ mailbox. So those are the fields. As you can see, it is relatively straightforward to set that up. Now, it doesn't always go brilliantly smoothly. You may set it up and then no links will appear in Google Scholar. Well, it's only going to harvest on Friday and Saturdays. So you'd have to wait till this coming Friday or Saturday anyway. And after that first harvest, it could take, as it says, a week to 10 days for all of those links to kind of start working in Google Scholar. So that's why I am recommending that if you do not have the publishing profile set up now, even if you are not yet actively setting up LibKey, you go ahead and get this going, because that way, if we check 2 weeks from now and things still aren't working as we expected, we have a chance to go through Ex Libris support and get that fixed before we update with the libkey base URL, and then it's really just it's beautiful and it's flowing by the time we have that extra functionality on the link resolvers. So that's something to think about. Here was a knowledge article about how to check if Google Scholar has been updated. Obviously, you can see here in publishing parameters. This article also shows you kind of how to do it within Google Scholars, and looking at your own library links. So if you add your college and then nothing is coming up when you do a Google Scholar search, then you'll know that the Google Scholar side of things hasn't been updated. So I can show you my Google Scholar as well. So under your account as a Google Scholar, you'll see the My Library, but that's not actually library links. So you'll want to go to the hamburger and then settings and then library links. And this is where you can search. So Big Ben does in fact have multiple profiles. This ProQuest full text is the one that I'm thinking needs to be removed by Alma. Big Bend has a get it at listed here, but I am pretty sure when I looked in their publishing profile, there was nothing in this field. So again, that might be something old, so I just didn't include those two. And then I went ahead and included Gonzaga and Eastern, because if I need to run down there and get something, or like access their electronic collections from their library, I can do that. So anyway, this is how you can choose your library. If you start searching and it doesn't come up, then like this is this is old. Yes, so hopefully this is Nicole just asked in chat, Alma can help remove old instances that show up in Google Scholar. This is what Alma's support says. I looked at a bunch of different knowledge articles, and basically it was like, if you have old 360 or summon or whatever, contact Alma to get those removed, because they're the ones that handle the registration with Google Scholar. So yeah, you might need to just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm trying to clean up my Google Scholar profiles. And before I set up a new one, I want to make sure that I'm not confusing the situation. Like if you search for one here. Now I'm guessing that this exists. Yeah, I don't know why. But if you set up a new one, and you use, a different label text, and this doesn't get updated, then it really is a different profile. If it does get updated, then it's just some default that got put in ages ago. Oh, someone created a Google account for the library and we have no idea where it maps to. Yeah, and that I don't think has anything to do with the library links of like, but having an institutional Google account and getting that cleaned up can be a little frustrating. If you want to talk through it, Nicole, I have managed to somehow figure out that process, because Whitworth lost access to their like Google profile, for like, what are your open hours? What are, like, and I managed to get through the steps to reconnect with an actual real email and then update our address and our hours and our phone number and all the rest of it. So if you want to talk through that. Yeah, and the old publishing profiles, if you were a summon school previously, could be from that. No, oh, no. I just haven't been in the library world quite long enough to know how else it might have been done. Yeah, and Nicole, you can't rely on Google to contact you. I basically had to just go into the system repeatedly and update it till they finally updated it. And they never called. Like there was an automated call to the front desk one time that was like, we are confirming this phone number, and it was an automated call, and they were like, press 1 if this is the actual place. So anyway, that was a little rambly. It can be quite frustrating when you have all kinds of library accounts that have been set up at different times and through different interfaces, because there's been so much evolution in the Google Scholar environment, as well as with the migration from Primo to Primo V. Things have changed a little bit as well. So yes, it may require an Alma support ticket. It may require a little like annoying and circular work with Google, but I'm happy to support if that's something that you're like, I just don't have bandwidth for that right now. So this is essentially all you should need to deal with as you set this up. If there is cleanup to do, then you'll want to file a support ticket. And again, if you're like, nope, I don't have the bandwidth for a support ticket, I am happy to do that as well on your behalf. I think sometimes they respond to my tickets slightly quicker because I'm the consortium level person. Um, but and I also like pounce on their responses too. So that if you're busy, you don't have to worry about it. So this is kind of it as far as setting up Google Scholar. Now, one of the considerations, and it is a serious consideration, is if you feel like your electronic collections are really messy right now, and that you may have things that are in your institution zone that you just don't have access to, you might want to go through some kind of e-resources audit before you do Google Scholar, because I have heard it is much more difficult to get old linking. So like a holding was published to Google Scholar, but now you don't have it. I've heard that the time that it takes to get the deletions updated is varies widely. So if your IZ is messy and you want to do an audit first, it might benefit you to do that. Now, if your IZ is empty because you are like, wow, I really got to get on like activating some collections, that's not a problem because this is going to publish your holdings every single week, and as you activate those collections, they'll get populated into Google Scholar, no problem. So any questions on this? It is one of the simpler publishing profiles to set up. Oh yes, I can definitely save these and share them. They are in our open calls file in the Google Drive, which I feel like. So these Alma Primo calls, this folder is generally available if you have a link to any of the documents. It should all be shared. And I think I should, while we're sitting here, I think it should be on our website somewhere. That's the recordings. If you go back into these open call archives, these date links, which I've been extremely bad at updating, take you to the minutes. I'm trying to get all of these links into the YouTube description, but I really kind of need like an office assistant to do some of this stuff and keep up on it. But if you do need a link to the Alma Primo calls folder, here, I will put it in the meeting minutes right now because I know that many are missing from YouTube and from the website. I did a ton of work basically right after I started trying to get the last year in here and updated, and then was really trying to move over to YouTube and kind of stalled out. But the archives box it's a good place to search for topics of previous recordings. So yeah, the Google Drive folder is very helpful. I currently only have the Alma Primo calls one as shareable. There's a lot of documentation that was shared, and I've turned it off just because not all of it was up to date or accurate. I believe our sandboxes document, I need to make sure this is shareable, and that is on the sandboxes page of the website, or it should be. I got a lot of website cleanup to do, guys. But I am going to stop the recording